Henry Tuaku Puna is a Cook Islands politician. He was Prime Minister of the Cook Islands from November 2010 to October 2020. Since 2006 he has been leader of the Cook Islands Party. Puna was elected to the Parliament of the Cook Islands at the 2005 Manihiki by-election. He lost his seat at the 2006 election, but regained it in the CIP victory at the 2010 election, which saw him elected Prime Minister. During his time as Prime Minister he held various ministerial portfolios, including Foreign Affairs, Marine Resources, and Energy. In June 2020 Puna announced his intention to stand down as Prime Minister in September in order to compete for the role of Secretary General of the Pacific Islands Forum. He stepped down from office on 1 October 2020. On 4 February 2021 he was elected as Secretary General, replacing Meg Taylor. He was expected to take office in April 2021. Puna grew up in Atutaki. He was educated on Atutaki and Rarotonga before studying law at the University of Auckland in New Zealand and the University of Tasmania in Australia. He worked as a lawyer, public servant and pearl farmer before entering politics. In September 1999 he was appointed Cook Islands High Commissioner to New Zealand. He was replaced in 2000 by Wilkie Rasmussen. Puna's father, Tuaku Manuela, was a member of the Legislative Assembly, and his older brothers William Estall and Neritana Puna both served as cabinet ministers. Also his brother Manuela Puna served as clerk of the Cook Islands Parliament. Puna first stood for Parliament at the 2004 election, contesting Prime Minister Robert Wooten's seat of Manihiki. He narrowly lost the seat on election night, but challenged the result in an election petition. The petition was upheld, with several voters being disqualified. The subsequent recount produced a tie, precipitating the 2005 Manihiki by-election which Puna ultimately won. In September 2006, following the retirement of party leader Geoffrey Henry, Puna was elected leader of the Cook Islands Party. He subsequently lost his seat in the Manihiki constituency to Apipiho in the 2006 election, but continued to serve as leader outside Parliament. Because he was not a member of Parliament, Puna was not the leader of the opposition. This position was filled by Tom Masters. Puna worked as a lawyer and pearl farmer during his time out of Parliament. In September 2009, Puna was unanimously re-elected party leader. Puna was re-elected as MP for Manihiki during the 2010 election, in which his party won 16 of the 24 seats. On 30 November 2010 he was sworn in as Prime Minister of the Cook Islands. He announced his initial cabinet 4 days later. On 3 December, Puna's initial policy priorities were to boost the economy and negotiate a new aid relationship with New Zealand. Shortly after being elected, Puna faced international condemnation after suggesting that the Cook Islands' first HIV victim should be quarantined or deported to prevent the disease from spreading. In February 2011 he shifted the focus of state-owned enterprises from making profits to providing improved services, and announced greater transparency over the travel costs of ministers and MPs. In May 2011 he expanded his cabinet, adding 3 associate ministers. In July 2011 he announced a long-term renewable energy program, with an initial goal of reaching 50% renewable electricity by 2015, and 100% by 2020. Backed by funding from Australia, New Zealand, and the Asian Development Bank, the Northern Islands were converted to solar power in 2015, with the Southern Group following in 2019. Work on Rarotonga is ongoing. In August 2011, he made his first formal visit to New Zealand as Prime Minister ahead of the Pacific Islands Forum in Auckland. In September 2011 he announced that his government would establish a 1 million square kilometre marine protected area in the southern Cook Islands. This plan would later evolve into the Marae Mona and be enshrined in law in 2017. In November 2011 the Cook Islands became a founding member of the Polynesian Leaders Group, a regional grouping intended to cooperate on a variety of issues including culture and language, education, responses to climate change, and trade and investment. In April 2012 he conducted a minor cabinet reshuffle, trading the police portfolio to Taiki Heather and taking up the Outer Islands portfolio instead. In August 2012 Puna took over the rotating chair of the Pacific Islands Forum after hosting U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton at the annual Pacific Islands Forum meeting. This led to a greater focus on wider Pacific issues of sustainability and climate change and criticism from the opposition that domestic issues were being ignored. While forum chair, he called for the restoration of democracy in Fiji following the 2006 Fijian coup d'etat and for stronger action on climate change. In April 2013, he expressed opposition to same-sex marriage and declared that the Cook Islands would not be follow